although poor Nancy Allen, she got slapped so much in this movie. Hi guys, and welcome to the Stephen King Sematary Club. Hi guys, and welcome to the Haunted Valley. Today I am going to discuss the movie Carrie. This was 1976 Brian De Palma film. So we have an opening shot. The girls are playing volleyball, and it always bothered me because I played volleyball in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, and Sue Snell hits the ball twice in a row, which you're not allowed to do. And not only did she hit it twice in a row, but then they had 4 hits on their side, and everyone blamed Carrie, but it was really Sue's fault that they lost this game. So I just have to say that it wasn't Carrie's fault. We open up pretty much right away into the infamous locker room scene, and I think it is so tastefully and beautifully done. The steam, the girls who are in various stages of undress, the playfulness, and the fact that it really feels like a locker room environment. And then we have this cut to Carrie, and she's in the shower. She is the only girl remaining in the shower, and you can see that she's just relaxing and letting it's almost as though she's letting the water wash away all of her anxiety, because, you know, she just got yelled at by the girls, and I mean, they were very rude to her, given that it's just a gym class. I mean, how competitive are high school girls who aren't even very athletic? I don't feel like that never really jived with me. But you have Carrie, and she is showering on her own, and she seems to be enjoying herself and relaxing. And then you get the blood between her legs, and it's a really great shot. I believe Sissy Spacek's husband was working in the art department. I think he was the art director, Jack Fisk, for this movie. And he was in the shower with her, and he handed her the blood that she would be using. And it's just, it's very tastefully done and just very real. And, you know, I love Sissy Spacek's reaction. You can just see the fear and the confusion in her eyes. It's very, very well done. And she runs in hysterics, screaming at these girls, and she is just fully committed. She's naked, she's just terrified, and the girls, of course, are disgusted, and they freak out, and they start throwing the pads and tampons at her. And I really appreciate that De Palma zooms in on their faces, and you could just see hysterical glee, and they're just primal craziness. There is a part from the book that mentions Carrie leaving a bloody handprint on the gym teacher's white gym shorts, and De Palma put that in, and I've always loved that. When Carrie is being discussed in the office, the principal and Miss Collins are discussing her and what needs to be done, and how could she not have known about periods. The principal, you catch him looking at this bloody handprint, and he's just really uncomfortable, and you know that he's out of his depth on this.
I knew how they felt. See, the whole thing just made me want to take her and shake her too. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So the fact that De Palma pulled that out and, you know, wove it into his movie, I really, really like that. Something I don't enjoy about this movie is it's not even just limited to the outdoor shots, but there are scenes that are just so overblown. They are overexposed and just very bright and soft focus, and I don't like that effect, especially for a horror movie. And it looks very 70s, and I don't think it aged well, so I don't know if it was an intentional I mean, I'm guessing it must have been intentional because it showed up throughout, but I don't like that softly lit, very diffused, overexposed look. Piper Laurie plays Margaret White, and she does such a good job at being slightly ridiculous in her religious fervor, and she's a small woman, and you just don't see her as being very powerful, I guess, but she can definitely send chills down your spine. There's a part where Carrie is listening up in her room and her mom is on the phone. I'm guessing someone from the school called to tell her what happened, and just the way that Margaret is calm but angry, and she tells Carrie, "Come down here, I know you're listening," and she has such a chilling delivery. It's very, very creepy.
I know you're listening. Come on downstairs.
I think that Piper and Sissy had amazing chemistry. I thought some of those scenes where they are opposing each other and Carrie is trying to put her foot down and Margaret is just, she's used to having her way and she's used to being the boss. And I love the scene where Piper drags Sissy right into that closet, kicking and screaming. You know, I mean, Piper Laurie is not a huge woman.
The prey woman! No! Rated well, lots of saving souls! I'm visiting curse! This is like...
I find that to be very impressive. One of my absolute favorite scenes is when Miss Collins is yelling at the girls in the gymnasium, and she just lines them up and lets them have it.
And spit out that gum.
Where'll I put it, Miss Collins?
You can choke on it for all I care. Just get it out of your mouth.
One of my favorite lines of all time. Chris Harkinson's boyfriend is Billy Nolan, and Chris is determined to pay Carrie back, and so they're riding around town, and Billy Nolan is played by John Travolta in his first movie role. Chris is being a tease, and she is trying to convince Billy to help her play this prank on Carrie, and so she's giving him a blowjob, and in the middle she says, "I hate Carrie White," and I love his reaction because he just stops and he's like, "Who?" So Chris and Billy are gonna do this prank with the pig's blood, which I saw the trailer for the movie and they totally spoil all of this. Chris goes with them. She did not in the book, but she goes with the guys to collect the pig's blood, and she gets really into it. Sue Snell asks her boyfriend, Tommy Ross, to take Carrie White to the prom. Sue Snell is played by Amy Irving. So Sue finally convinces Tommy to do this. He doesn't want to. And there's a whole scene with him and Sue being called into Miss Collins' office, and she's asking them why they're doing this, and basically trying to tell them not to try and take Carrie to the prom. And poor Tommy is in the middle because his girlfriend wants him to do it. Miss Collins is telling him don't do it. He doesn't really want to, and he's just kind of stuck in the middle. So Carrie does agree to go to the prom with Tommy. And when she tells her mom, they're sitting at dinner, and in a very overly dramatic scene, she tells Margaret White that she's going to prom, and Margaret says prom, and then immediately there's lightning and a thunderclap to just make it extra dramatic.
I've been invited to the prom.
Prom?
Yeah, the senior prom.
So there's this whole thing at dinner where Carrie finally just stands up to her mom completely and says that you can't stop me, I'm going to prom. You know, he's a nice boy. Things are going to change around here, you know. And she kind of pushes, she shows her mom her power. She like shuts the window on her, and you know, it's kind of like, listen to me, don't walk away from me, don't walk away from this conversation. her mom threatens that, tell him you're not going or we're gonna move from here. Carrie says that she's going, and that's that. Margaret can't really stand up to her anymore. Carrie's powers are very obvious at this point, even though Margaret thinks that she's a witch and that she has Satan's power. And Carrie is just trying to convince her, no, it's telekinesis and other people do it, and it's not evil. We see Carrie getting ready for the prom, and it's very adorable. She has an article about Tommy Ross clipped out of the newspaper and stuck next to her mirror, and you could see it while she's getting ready. And she and Tommy go to the prom. They fit in. A few people laugh at them, but it's mostly Chris Hargenson's friends. And, they sit at the table, they're having a good time. They even make plans to go out after prom for a little bit before Carrie's curfew. One of the other things that I don't love about the movie is the shot where Tommy and Carrie are dancing and they are spinning and the camera's spinning opposite them. I don't mind the effect for a little bit, but I thought it went on for too long. It got a little kitschy, I guess, and I didn't like that. I do love the set design for the prom. All the silver stars, and the lighting is gorgeous. It's like pinks and reds and blues. It's a very well designed set, and even the little bucket of blood has a star on it. Maybe a couple stars. It is decorated, probably to, be camouflaged within, in case anyone looked up. And speaking of the bucket of blood, there's a gorgeous establishing shot for that. It starts, I believe, after the ballots are collected for prom king and queen. Norma, PJ Souls, she's kissing her boyfriend, and he drops the ballots that they've collected behind her, and she kicks him under the stage, and then she pulls out the doctored ballots out from his coat, and then we see her walk in front of the stage, do a little knock on the stage stairs, and give a little okay sign to let Chris know, because she and Billy are under the stage, to let them know that everything is go. And then we see the rope that Chris and Billy are holding, and it goes up through the back of the set design, and then it goes out and over. So it's just a very, very long establishing shot, but it's really, really gorgeous. Sue ends up crashing the prom because she wants to see what's happening with Tommy and Carrie, and she's standing by the side of the stage, and she feels the rope under her hand moving. So she backs up and she can see the whole thing. She can see Chris and Billy underneath and the rope going up, and it's attached to a bucket, and she obviously doesn't know what's in the bucket, but regardless, it's not a good thing. So she tries to investigate. Miss Collins sees her and throws her out of the prom, and you always think that she's going to save the day, but Miss Collins gets in the way, and so Sue is thrown out. And at that very moment, the bucket of blood falls on Tommy and Carrie, and everything is chaos from there on. And the cinematography is amazing. There's all this split screen going on, the lighting, the red lighting, at first there's this isolated sound of just the blood dripping, the bucket hitting against the wooden beams, and the rope creaking. That's all you hear for quite a while. Slowly, you have laughter and like a kaleidoscope effect, And this is, you know, what Carrie is imagining, because only a very select few people are laughing. It's all in her head, really. And the effects are amazing. Miss Collins' death is pretty epic. One of the teachers and the principal, they get electrocuted from holding on to the mic stand, and Carrie turns the fire hoses on. Everything catches fire. They try to get Tommy out. He was knocked out from the bucket, falling on his head. Just the whole thing, the sheer amount of destruction was really impressive. After prom, Carrie goes home and there are just candles everywhere. Margaret has lit all these candles and put them on every surface, like even on the bed. They're going up the stairs to Carrie's room because she lives in that attic room. And Carrie slowly walks up, kind of drops her dress, and just looks very defeated. And she walks into the bathroom, and when she turns the light on, there is the creepiest thing. Margaret is standing behind the door, so she's illuminated once the light comes on, and she just waits. She waits while Carrie bathes, and it takes forever for Carrie to bathe and get clean from all this blood. So I always thought that was probably the creepiest scene in the whole movie. She stabs Carrie, and Carrie, in this amazing shot, falls down the stairs in between the candles and just goes all the way down to the bottom. Margaret stands above her with this deranged look on her face, makes a sign of the cross with her knife, and then she continues to go after Carrie. And Carrie flings a whole bunch of knives and kitchen utensils at her mom, and the pattern of it is exactly like the pattern of that creepy little statue in the closet. And I thought that was such a brilliant touch. It is something that Carrie stared at all the time, because whenever she had to pray, whenever she was bad, whenever her mom wanted her to repent, Carrie had to go in this little closet and sit in front of this creepy idol who had all these wounds. I think they're arrows, if I remember correctly. Arrows sticking out of him. And the hair on that thing is like doll hair. I don't know. It's a creepy little idol. And so, of course, that would be something that's just etched in Carrie's mind. And so she placed those utensils in exactly the same position. So Margaret has this very orgasmic death scene. She dies, the house starts crashing in from all these falling rocks, which if you hadn't read the book, I don't think it doesn't make much sense why all these rocks are falling into the house. And Carrie just drags her mom into the closet. They're in there, a big rock falls, knocks Carrie on the head, and then Carrie is dead. So that's the end of that. Then we get the aftermath. Sue's mom is talking on the phone about Sue. You know, she survived because she wasn't in the gym. And what I really love about this is that Amy Irving's mother, Priscilla Pointer, is the woman playing Sue's mother. So Mrs. Snell is Amy Irving's real mom. And the ending, everyone knows the ending with the hand coming up. That never scared me. I think it's too slow. I mean, I didn't know it was coming when I first saw it, but it did not scare me. And I remember watching it on TV with my cousin after I already knew the ending, and she freaked out. She freaked out, and it was really funny to watch. I think that is most of what I wanted to cover for this. I'm sure there's other stuff, but I think that's a pretty good review. Brian De Palma, love his work. I will also be reviewing The Fury, which I always felt was a sister film to this film. Amy Irving in it. It's about a telekinetic girl. If you haven't watched it, watch that one and then come watch my discussion of it. That won't be up for quite a while. If you haven't watched Carrie, definitely watch it. It is a classic. I watch it probably too often, but it's so good. It is so good. It's a gorgeous film, and I highly recommend it. Highly recommend it. And I don't think it matters if you read the book first or not. I don't think that has any bearing. And that is it for Carrie. And that is actually it for the Stephen King Sematary Club portion of Carrie. We did the book, we did the movie. Have a spooky day.